Chapter 1. The Doll. I remembered Logan's description of the woman who made her. How could a woman like that make a beautiful doll? My name is Bradley Irving, and I am a doctor. I live and work in London, and I have a house by the River Thames. Everything in this story happened because of a doll. It is a strange story, but true. It began on a January day 3 years ago. I can remember it clearly. The early morning sun was shining on the river when I left my house. I went to buy a copy of the Times as usual. There was a flower shop on the corner of the road where I lived. I could see the brightly colored flowers as I reached the corner. I turned into Abbey Lane and continued walking. I was enjoying the warm January sun. After a few minutes, I arrived at the newspaper shop. Suddenly, I remembered that it was my niece's birthday next week. So I stopped and looked in the shop window. There were toys and games, paper and pens, books and sweets in the window. Most of it has been in that window for years, I thought to myself. I almost decided there was nothing in the window for my niece. Then I saw a doll. She was half hidden in the corner of the window. She was made of cloth and had a painted face. The face was special. It had a lovely, gentle look, but sad eyes. Suddenly, I felt sorry for her, sitting in that crowded window. I know this sounds strange, but I decided to go inside and look at her more closely. The shop was owned by a man named Logan Price.
Good morning, Dr. Irving. Do you want the Times as usual?
He said brightly as I walked in. Yes, please, Logan, I replied, and I need a present for a little girl. It's her birthday next week.
Is it?
Said Logan. Yes, I said. I was looking at that cloth doll in your window.
Oh,
He said. The one that's half hidden in the corner, I said. Logan looked surprised and said,
that doll? She's a little unusual.
Can I see her? I asked.
She's also very expensive,
He said. He took the doll from the window and gave her to me, and I nearly dropped her in surprise. She was beautifully made. She seemed almost alive. Her dress and other clothes were handmade, not made by a machine, and her face was hand-painted. I could see it clearly now. She's lovely, I thought. She was made with a lot of love. I could see this love in the doll's face. I put her down gently. How much do you want for her, Logan? I asked.
£11, Dr. Irving.
He answered. He saw the surprise on my face and added,
She's expensive. I did say that, didn't I?
You did, I agreed.
Dolls like this cost as much as £20 in the center of London. But I'll tell you what I'll do, Doctor. I'll sell her to you for £10,
said Logan. Who makes them? I asked. I'd like to know something about the person who can create beautiful dolls like this.
The woman has lived in Baker Street for some years now. She sometimes comes into my shop and brings me the dolls,
said Logan. What's her name? I asked.
I'm not sure. It's something like Cater,
Logan answered. What's she like? I asked.
She's a tall woman with brown hair, and she wears very expensive coats and hats. But she has a very serious face. She never says much when she comes into the shop. I'm honestly always glad when she leaves,
Replied Logan. He stopped for a minute and then said,
and I've never seen her smile.
I couldn't understand this. How could a woman like that make dolls as beautiful as these? I'll buy the doll, I said at last. £10 seemed like a lot of money for a doll. As I counted out the pound notes, I felt a little silly. Yes, the doll was a present, but I knew the real reason I was buying her. I didn't want to leave her in that shop window. I took the doll home and put her in my small bedroom. She seemed to fill the room with her loveliness. I carefully put her into a box. Then I covered the box with a brown paper. Later, in the evening, I went to the post office and posted it to my niece. In the following days, I couldn't stop thinking about the doll, her gentle face and sad eyes. I remembered Logan's description of the woman who made her. How could a woman like that create such a beautiful doll? It was hard to believe. So who was she? I wanted to know, but the weather turned cold and wet. Children in the area became ill, and I suddenly became very busy. I soon forgot about the woman and the doll. One day, a few weeks later, my telephone rang. A woman's voice said,
Is that Dr. Irving?
"Yes, it is," I said.
Do you visit people who can pay for your visit?
The woman asked. "Yes, sometimes," I replied.
How much does it cost?
She asked. The voice sounded unpleasant. The woman seemed to care more about money than the sick person. "A visit will cost £5, I replied.
Oh,
She said. "But if you really can't pay, then I don't ask for the money," I added.
oh, that's all right. I can pay £5.
She said. "What's your name?" I asked.
Beatrice Carter. I live in the house next to the cake shop in Baker Street. My room is on the 3rd floor.
She answered. "I'll be there soon," I told her. 10 minutes later, I arrived at the house next to the cake shop in Baker Street and went up the stairs. They were narrow, dirty, and poorly lit. As I reached the top of the stairs, a door opened.
Dr. Irving?
Said the unpleasant voice. "Yes," I said.
Please come in. I'm Beatrice Carter.
She said. She was a tall woman, between 45 and 50 years old. She had brown hair, dark eyes, and a bright, shiny pink mouth. We went into the front room. It was a cold, ugly room, and the furniture was cheap and poorly made. On the cupboard in the corner, there were a lot of small glass bottles. Then I saw the dolls. They were hanging from the walls and were thrown carelessly across the bed. Each doll was different, but each one was as beautiful as my doll. It seemed impossible that this rough, unpleasant woman could have made them. Beatrice Carter looked closely at me and said,
You're a very young doctor.
"I'm older than I look," I said coldly. "You think I'm too young. Shall I go away again?" She laughed at me and said,
You don't need to be angry, doctor. You're very good looking for a doctor.
And I'm a very busy doctor, I said. Are you the person who's ill?
No, it's my niece. She's in the back room. I'll take you to her.
She replied. Before we went in, I had to know about the dolls. Do you make these dolls? I asked.
Yes, why?
She replied. I felt very sad. I bought one for someone's birthday, I said quietly. She laughed and said,
And I'm sure that you paid a lot of money for it.
She took me to a smaller room at the back and began to open the door.
Cynthia, it's the doctor.
She shouted. Then she pushed the door open wider to let me in.
Don't be surprised when you see her, doctor. Her right leg is twisted.
He said loudly. The girl, Cynthia, was sitting on a chair by the window. She heard the woman's words. She looked sad, and there was pain in her large dark eyes. I was angry at the brown-haired woman. The words were unnecessary. She wanted to hurt the girl. Cynthia was not more than 25 years old, but I could see immediately that she was very ill. I looked again into those dark eyes. Something inside her is dying, I thought. After that first visit, I always remembered the sweetness in her sad face, her poor, thin body, and her dry, unhealthy hair. But something made me happy. Around her were 4 small tables, and on them were all the necessary things to make the dolls. Brightly colored paints and pieces of cloth of many different colors and shapes. I soon understood that her twisted leg was not the reason for her illness. I noticed the way that she sat. If I was right, I could make that leg straight. I was almost sure that I was right. "Can you walk, Cynthia?" I asked after a minute. She looked at me, then looked away.
Yes,
She answered quietly. "Please walk to me," I said gently.
Oh, don't ask me that.
She said. I didn't want her to suffer, but I had to be sure that I was right. "I'm sorry, Cynthia," I said. "Please try and walk. It's important." She got up from her chair very carefully and moved slowly towards me. I looked closely at her right leg. Yes, I was right. "That's good," I said. I smiled at her. I wanted to show her that I was pleased. I held out my hands to help her. She looked up. Again, I saw the pain and hopelessness in her face. She seemed to be crying out silently to me for help. She lifted her hands towards mine, and then they fell back to her sides. "How long have you been like this, Cynthia?" I asked. Beatrice Carter answered for the girl.
Oh, Cynthia's had that twisted leg for nearly 12 years now. But I asked you to come for a different reason. She's ill. I want to know what's wrong with her.
She said. "Oh, yes, she's ill," I thought. "Perhaps she's dying." I knew that immediately. I wanted Beatrice Carter to leave the room, but she didn't. She laughed and said,
I'm staying here, Dr. Irving. You look at Cynthia. Then you can tell me what the problem is.
When I finished my examination of Cynthia, I went with Beatrice into the front room. "It's possible to make her leg straight," I said. "Did you know that? With help, she could walk in."
Stop!
Beatrice shouted loudly. I jumped.
That's enough. You must never say anything about that to her. The best doctors cannot help her. No stupid young man is going to give her hope. If you ever do, you won't come here again. I want to know what's wrong with her. She can't eat or sleep, and she isn't really working. Now, tell me, what did you learn from your examination of her?
I don't know what's wrong with her yet, I replied. But something is slowly destroying her, I know that. I shall want to see her again soon. I'm going to give her some medicine. It will make her feel stronger. Then I'll call again in a few days.
Don't say anything about making her leg straight. Do you understand? If you do, I'll get another doctor,
she said. All right, I said. I wanted to be able to visit Cynthia again, and I thought to myself, perhaps when Cynthia's feeling better, I can talk to her about her leg. I was ready to leave. I picked up my bag. These dolls, I said.
Yes?
Beatrice said. I thought that you made them, I said.
I do. I draw them. Cynthia makes them. It stops her thinking about her leg. I don't want her to think about the fact that she'll never marry. She'll never have children,
she said, in her unpleasant way. I walked out into the bright January sun. I knew that Beatrice Carter was lying. I now knew the sweet person who made those special dolls. I was happy about this, but I was also worried about Cynthia. I had to find what was wrong with her. I had to know before she died. Chapter 2. The Doll. Without Cynthia and the dolls, the money will end. But what was killing Cynthia? I still did not know. I found more about Cynthia during my next few visits. Her name was Cynthia Waters. When she was 14 years old, she was in a bad car crash. Her mother and father were killed, and Cynthia was very badly hurt. The car crash was the reason for her twisted leg. Beatrice Carter offered to look after Cynthia. The law finally agreed because there was no other person to look after the young girl. Beatrice always thought that Cynthia's father was a rich man. Then she learned that there was only a small amount of money. After that, she was unkind to Cynthia. She made her very unhappy. Cynthia was never able to forget her leg. Her aunt seemed to say,
No man will love you. You will never get married and have children. No man wants a wife with a twisted leg.
The years passed, and Cynthia began to believe her aunt. She stayed with her. She did what her aunt wanted her to do. She could see no reason to leave her aunt, so she lived an unhappy life without hope. Then Cynthia began to make the dolls. Beatrice Carter saw how lovely the dolls were. She soon realized that she could sell them for a lot of money. She was right. After she sold a few, she decided, Cynthia must work on them every day of the week, from morning until night. Beatrice did not love Cynthia, but the girl made hundreds of dolls over the years. Beatrice was happy to take the money for them. But now Cynthia was ill, and Beatrice immediately said to herself,
Without Cynthia and the dolls, the money will end.
But what was killing Cynthia? I still did not know. I could see that she was afraid of her aunt, but it wasn't that. And I couldn't ask Cynthia, because her aunt was always with us. Cynthia found it difficult to say anything to me with Beatrice in the room. I did not tell Cynthia that perhaps I could make her leg straight. It was more important to find why she didn't want to continue living. I told Cynthia to stop working on the dolls, and I brought her some books and some chocolates. For 10 days she seemed to get better. During my next visit, she smiled at me for the first time. "That's better," I said. I was very pleased to see her happy face. "You must leave the dolls alone for another 10 days. I don't want you to work. I want you to rest, sleep, and read. Then we'll see." But I could see that Beatrice was unhappy at these words. When I called again, she was waiting for me in her room.
"You don't need to come anymore, Dr. Irving,"
she said coldly. "But Cynthia must not," I began to say.
"Cynthia is much better now. Goodbye, doctor,"
she said quickly. My eyes went to the box in the corner of the room. There were 4 new dolls lying on top of it. Their faces were as lovely as ever, but they had the look of death on them. Suddenly, I was frightened for Cynthia. I knew that Beatrice Carter was lying. I wanted to push this woman out of the way and crash through the door and see Cynthia. But I was a doctor. When doctors are told to leave, they have to go. I still did not know what Cynthia's problem was. But I guessed that Beatrice was asking another doctor to call. So, sadly, I left. But I couldn't forget Cynthia. I continued to worry about her in the days that followed. Not long after this, I became ill. It wasn't much at first, but as the days passed, it seemed to get worse. I visited a doctor friend.
I can find nothing wrong with your body. Perhaps you work too hard,
he said, but I knew that this wasn't the reason. I continued to get worse. I didn't want to eat, and I lost weight. I began to look thin and pale. I felt tired, but I didn't sleep well at night. I sometimes dreamed that I saw Cynthia. She was calling to me for help while Beatrice Carter was holding her in her ugly arms. I thought about Cynthia all the time. I wasn't able to help her, I thought. She wanted me to help her, and I did nothing. One night, I couldn't sleep at all. I walked up and down my room, thinking about myself and my illness. It seemed that I was suffering from the same illness as Cynthia. Suddenly, I knew what was wrong. I was in love with Cynthia Waters, and because I couldn't look after her, I felt ill and unhappy. I know why Cynthia's dying, I thought. She's dying because nobody loves her. Nobody in the world is giving her hope for the future. Her mother and father are dead. Her aunt only keeps her because she makes money from Cynthia's dolls. Cynthia has no friends, and she feels ugly because of her leg. Her life is empty, except for the dolls. I have to see her. I have to speak to her for a few minutes alone, or she'll be lost to me forever. I thought about this all through the night, and the next morning I telephoned Logan Price at his shop. "This is Dr. Irving, Logan," I said. "Will you help me?"
I'll do what I can for you, doctor. You saved my son's life last year, and I'll never forget that. How can I help you?
Said Logan. "Thanks, Logan," I said. "Do you remember Miss Beatrice Carter, the doll woman?"
Yes, of course,
said Logan. "When she comes into your shop again, I want you to telephone me, then have a long conversation with her," I said. "I need 20 minutes, all right?"
All right,
said Logan. "Good," I said. "Thanks, Logan. I'll remember this for the rest of my life." I was worried about missing a telephone call while I was out, so each evening I put my head around the door of Logan's shop, but he just shook his head. There was no news. Then, one day, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the telephone rang. It was Logan. He just said,
she's here.
I ran to the house where Cynthia lived. When I got there, I ran up the stairs. Luckily, the door was not locked, and I hurried into Cynthia's room. She looked so thin now, and very ill. She still had the paints and pieces of cloth around her. I thought, she wants to make one more doll before she dies. She looked up when I came into the room. Her eyes opened wide in surprise when she saw me. She thought that it was Beatrice. She said my name, but she didn't call me Dr. Irving. She called me Bradley. "Cynthia," I cried, "I've come to help you. I know what's making you ill."
Does it matter now?
She said quietly. "There's still time, Cynthia," I said. "I know your secret. I know how I can make you well, but you must listen to me while I tell you." She just closed her eyes and said quietly,
No, don't say anything, please. Leave me. I don't want to know. The end is near now.
I sat down and held her hand. "Cynthia, please listen to me," I said gently. "When children are growing up, they receive love from their family. Then, when they're older, they can give that love to other people. They give love, and at the same time they receive kindness, happiness, and hope. Then they have more love that they can give. But you've given your love, Cynthia, and you've received nothing. Now you have no love that you can give." I was not sure that she could still hear me, but I wanted her to live so much. I had to continue. "It was your aunt," I said. "She took away all your hopes for love and happiness. And later," I continued, "she did a worse thing. She took away your children." I looked at Cynthia. Have I killed her, I thought. The one person who loves her? Then I felt her small hand move in mine, and her eyes slowly opened. She seemed almost glad to hear these words. This gave me hope. I spoke gently. I tried very hard because I wanted her to understand. "Those dolls were your children, Cynthia," I said. "You thought that you couldn't be a mother, so you made those beautiful dolls. Into each one you put some of your love. You made them gently and carefully, and you loved them like your own children. Then your aunt took each one away, and she gave you nothing. You continued to use all your love. People can die when they have no love left inside them, Cynthia." I finished speaking, and she moved. She seemed to understand what I was saying. "But you won't die, Cynthia," I cried, "because I love you. Do you hear me? I love you, and I can't live without you."
Love me, but I have a twisted leg. How can you love me?
She said quietly. "That doesn't matter to me, Cynthia. I still love you," I said gently. "But Beatrice lied to you. I can make your legs straight. In a year, you'll walk like every other girl." I saw tears of happiness in her eyes. She smiled and put her arms out to me. I took her up in my arms and she held me. I put my coat around her to keep her warm. Then I carried her across the room. Suddenly, we heard the front door shut and the sound of running footsteps. Then Cynthia's door crashed open as an angry Beatrice Carter came into the room. Cynthia started to shake with fear. She hid her face in my neck, but Beatrice was too late. She could do nothing now, and she knew it. She did not speak a word when I walked past her. I held Cynthia close to me. I went out of her front door, down the stairs, and into the street. Outside, the sun shone, and the sky was blue. Children played happily and noisily in the street as I carried Cynthia home. That was 3 years ago. As I write this, Cynthia is playing with our daughter. Our second child will arrive in a few weeks. Cynthia doesn't make the dolls now. She doesn't need to make them. But I silently thank the day when I first fell in love with the beautiful doll